What is arrow's spine and what does it mean? What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Movie Crew. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button. And if you enjoyed this video and find value in it, give it a like. Also, if you guys want to check out the gear and the few props that I use in today's video, check the links in the description. So arrow spine, basically, to put it lightly, is the stiffness of an arrow. Now you're probably wondering, what does the stiffness of an arrow have to do with the price of beans? Well, it has nothing to do with the price of beans, but it does have something to do with archery. So for example, a 10-year-old gets a bow. He's pulling 35 pounds. Would he use a 200 spine arrow? No, because a 200 spine arrow is super stiff. You can be over spined on an arrow. You can also be under spined. So you don't want to be over spined because it's not going to shoot right. It's not going to tune right. It's not going to shoot straight or consistent. And if you're under spined, you could explode the arrow in the bow and you could shoot your hand with painful carbon needle splinters, and it's not a pretty sight. So back to the 10-year-old. The 10-year-old is pulling 35 pounds and he'll probably want a spine like a 500 spine. So why would he use a 500 spine? Well, he would use a 500 spine because that's the spine that would best suit that kind of poundage. But basically the arrow spine number will decrease as your poundage goes up, or basically as the energy of your bow goes up. If you are shooting a Matthews V3, for example, and you're pulling 50 pounds, then probably a 400 spine would probably actually work out real well for you. But if you were to change the mods on it and bump the poundage up to 75 pounds, well, you probably would want a 340 spine, or maybe even a 300. Like I said, if you're underspined, you could blow up the arrow. Like the arrow will literally become a splinter bomb. If there's too much energy coming from that bow and there's not enough carbon to absorb that energy, it will just explode. So arrow spine also correlates with the weight of an arrow and the GPI. And the GPI of the arrow is grains per inch. The lower the spine number, normally the higher the GPI. The higher the grains per inch, the more weight in an arrow and the more carbon in an arrow. So if you have a higher spine arrow like 500, like that 10-year-old would use, there would not be as much carbon in that arrow as there would in, say, a 200 spine arrow, which would have probably like 12 grains per inch, which would be actually probably like double the weight and double the carbon. So that's what spine is. That's why it's really important that you get the right spine. If you're, like I said, if you're under spine, the arrow could explode. If you're over spined, it could just, it won't tune right, it won't fly straight, it won't fly good at all, it won't be accurate, and you can't be consistent if you can't even sight your bow in properly. Basically, let me sum it up for you. So if you're trying to figure out what arrow you want to get and what spine is best for you, go online. Actually, a lot of arrow companies have a arrow spine chart. So this right here is my arrow box. I still have it, and I think it's a cool box, but also it has the spine chart on the back of the box. So a lot of boxes will probably have a spine chart. If not, it'll be on the website. This one right here is compound bows under 315 feet per second. This chart is 315 to 345 feet per second. My bow, I'm actually not really sure what speed my bow is, but I'm guessing it's probably right around 300. So we're gonna go here. So I know my point weight is 100 grains. That would be like, or your broadhead, whatever it is. My point weight, 100 grains. My draw weight right down here, 69. And then we're gonna go straight over. And this top row right here is your draw length. So we're gonna go over until I find my draw length. Oh, there it is, 28. And it says 340 spine. And that is what I have right here, 340 spine. So that's how you figure out what spine is right for you. Just look up the spine chart and whatnot. I used to shoot 400 spine. That's because I shot a bow with less energy, less speed, less power. So I didn't need as much carbon to absorb the energy, but when I upgraded bows, I needed more carbon. So I went with a lower spine, which is 340. Now I'm gonna say one more thing here. In the archery world, there was another big debate. Basically, is a fast arrow better for hunting or is a heavy arrow better for hunting? And the debate will probably always go on forever. But if you're someone who is leaning towards a faster arrow, then you're gonna want a lighter arrow. But you can't go too light or else the arrow might explode. So that's when physics kind of comes into play. You could go with a higher spine arrow that's lighter and try to cut it shorter. And the shorter the arrow, the stiffer the arrow. So that's kind of where little physics comes into play. But if you're someone who wants a heavy arrow setup, well, then you have to take into consideration you don't want an arrow that's underspined. If you have too much weight up here, the arrow's here, and you got all this energy back here, the bow, if there's too much weight and not enough carbon to absorb that energy and push that arrow and all that weight, the arrow will buckle and it will explode. So a 340 spine, if I want to go with a 600 grain arrow setup, which is really heavy, this arrow is not going to be enough. This is too flimsy and it's not stiff enough. There's not enough carbon in here to absorb all that energy and push all that weight. So in this case, I might actually go to a 250 spine or a 300 spine. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you enjoyed it and you found value, give it a like. Also, comment down below what your arrow setup is, what spine it is and stuff like that. I'm curious to know. Hopefully I learned something. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you in the next one.